Hey y'all, it's been a fat fucking minute since I've been here. But today, our victim is one of these anti-woke 4chan lover lolcow dorks doing a 2015 Leafy impression, also known as Griffin Gaming. He's someone that I used to enjoy a lot when I was like fucking 12. But if you take a glance at his channel currently, it's just constantly him being triggered and bitching about every single game that comes out. Really, the only recent games I've seen him even remotely like are like Ninja Gaiden 4, Astrobot, and Stellar Blade. You know, shocker that the anti-woke loser loves the Gunner game. And I truly believe that these people hate new games for no other reason than they just bitch and complain. Now, gather around the campfire and let's talk about his dishonesty and go over a few videos of his. Now, for those unfamiliar with him, Griffin is an edgelord and game reviewer who mostly just gives bad gaming and political takes and posts about MAGA, going as far as to say,
is everything that leftists accused him of. Genuinely, we'd be living in a perfect world if that was the case. We would be living in a perfect world right now if that was actually the fucking case. Dude, I wouldn't even care if Trump was raping kids, to be honest. Like, genuinely. If he did all the fucking shit that leftists accused him of and was, like, actually fucking kids or whatever on Epstein Island, I can live with that. I don't fucking give a shit, bro. Like, at that point, we'd be...
And complaining about games being woke, even playing games he knows he'll hate just to have something to bitch about. Like, he constantly bitches about, like, not liking story games, but he'll constantly play like Spider-Man 2 and all of these games. But, so the first video I'm going to talk about here is his Ghost of Yote video. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on it because Colin already made a full breakdown of the video. So if you want the full rebuttal of Griffin's video, definitely check out Colin's video. It's a pretty good watch. And I haven't played Yote myself, so I'm not going to sit here and focus the whole video on just based on random videos and clips I've seen. But I do want to hit just a few key points here. One major point being he tries to call this game Sony slop.
Or maybe it's Ghost of Yotai. I don't know. I'm not that big of a weeb. But the point of the matter is Ghost of Yotai is a ghost of a better game that came before it previously. And on top of that, it is a carbon copy of a worse game that came out earlier this year in the form of Assassin's Creed Shadows. What we're dealing with here is yet another Sony story slop title with their trademark lay heckin' revenge bad dude storyline, because we definitely need another one of those, man. I mean, even IGN is getting tired of this shit at this point.
I'm a huge fan of PlayStation's first-party offerings. They've come to embody the sort of cinematic adventures I've always looked for when sitting down with a controller in my hand, feeling like genuine blockbuster events meant to be savoured. But where in the past this brand of glossy storytelling felt like new ground being trodden, I can't help but feel that recently it's become the well-worn road. It's not just that all of PlayStation's major releases adhere to the now trademark third-person cinematic stylings. It's that stable of developers has become seemingly obsessed with stories that explore the exact same themes, grief and revenge. And I'm starting to get a little tired of it.
When you've lost literally the game's journalist outlet that has glazed every single subsequent release for the past decade plus, you know something is running amok here, because this is the same recycled story that we've seen time and time again from AAA game developers, especially from PlayStation, in games like God of War Ragnarok, Spider-Man 2, and of course, most famously, The Last of Us Part 2. And now Ghost of Yote joins that list of games that have to reinforce the idea that revenge is actually bad, dude. I mean, even the final chapter of this game spells it out for the idiots in the back. I mean, if you want to talk about subtlety being dead, there's case in point, but in other parallels to other Sony-related properties like The Last of Us Part 2, the game even ends with two women raising another man's child.
So firstly, Griffin, my guy, buddy, why are we sitting here quoting IGN on the themes of Sony game? But more to the point, The only of these games with even remotely similar themes is Last of Us 2 and Ghost of Yotei, which even so, they take this theme completely differently. But just to humor you, let's go through them real quick. Spider-Man is more so letting go of the past and about feeling inadequate. Last of Us is about Ellie realizing this path of revenge isn't what Jill would have really wanted for her. And Abby's theme is about how revenge didn't make her feel better about her grief. And then Ghost of Yotei is just about learning to fight for what she has in the present instead of being stuck in the past. So these really aren't even remotely similar. So I know what in the fuck you're talking about, my guy. He also talks about big chunks of the game being talking and cutscenes, but like, congratulations, you're playing a story game. Welcome to most single-player story-driven game. This isn't even a real criticism from him. You just don't like this genre of game. Then why are you continuously playing this genre when you clearly don't enjoy these style of games? This would be similar to me, like, if I didn't like turn-based games and I just played JRPGs all the fucking time. It just doesn't make sense. And then pretend it's like the game is bad just because you don't enjoy this style of game. Now, at some point in the video, he goes on this bizarre point saying he doesn't know why they advertise this game with the English voice actress and tries to shit on her for making Antifa posts and calls it a domestic terrorist organization.
And there's a lot of controversy going around the right-wing sphere of the gaming community regarding the voice actress and face of the main character, and a lot of the very controversial shit she has posted on social media surrounding the LGBT community, and on top of that, her allegiance to a domestic terrorist organization known as Antifa. But all of that aside, I think we have a perfect instance of Ghost of Yotei being yet another game that is more boring than it is woke. The wokeness of this game is not even scratching the surface when it comes to the cardinal sin of this title, and that is the fact that it is just genuinely yet another copy-paste Sony revenge bad storyline that genuinely will put you to sleep before it'll make you chuckle at just how comically woke it is. Now, don't get me wrong, there's definitely a lot of woke themes throughout this game. Atsu is definitely a girl boss from start to finish,
which is blatantly isn't true, and tries to call her ugly. So for one, Antifa isn't a fucking organization. It literally just means anti-fascist, and people post about it a lot. Yes, some people do claim to be Antifa and do violent crimes, but that doesn't make the entire movement terrorism. You fucking troglodyte. Now on to the actress. A bit shockingly, the native English game is gonna advertise the English voice actor. Also, she's not even ugly. She's not like a fucking supermodel, but I'm not expecting that, especially for this type of character. Atsu isn't supposed to be like a model or anything like that. So I'm not sure why you have that expectation. And using this criticism legitimately, who fucking cares? Who gives a fuck? And on top of that, this is the same man who also says he doesn't even like Megan Fox. Who, I'd like to remind you, is the same dipshit that looks like this. Dog, why? You look like me. You look like a fucking Reddit mod. Why are you sitting here criticizing other people's look? I truly hope that you learn some self-hatred and some shame, because what in the fuck are we even talking about here? Normally, I wouldn't even, like, make this a criticism of somebody's looks. Like, I wouldn't include somebody's looks as part of the criticism, but this is something he says a lot. So I do have to, like, illustrate that here. Now, on to this final section, I do want to talk about Griffin bitching about Naughty Dog Studios, like they stole his ex-girlfriend that he doesn't have. So to start with, he starts with this really mid-intro, like 40 seconds long, showing Abby from Last of Us 2 winning a fight against multiple other main characters to imply the game is bad.
I like you, Jack, so I'm giving you another shot. Slippery little bastard, die! Die, you piece of shit!
and well, judging from the reception to the...
Now, I can understand not enjoying Last of Us 2. It's always had a pretty bipolar reception, but given how much he constantly whines and bitches like a toddler, anytime he sees a woman in a game that's not good material, I have to assume he thinks it's funny, just because a woman wouldn't fight. Well, he drags his knuckles on the fucking ground and drools all over himself, like the fucking knuckle dragger he is. He proceeds to say that he's glad people are hating on Neil Druckmann, the head of Naughty Dog, claiming that Neil had piggybacked off of others that have never done anything in his own right, and calling him Neil Druckmann. Gotta love this, like, really cringe right-wing humor, like we're still in fucking 2005. Now, this is something Griffin does anytime he doesn't like a game that caters to his political leaning.
Absolutely butchered online by most people with a testosterone level higher than that of a 90-year-old man on death's door. So this game is not exactly getting a warm welcome no matter where you look on the internet, and honestly, it couldn't happen to a better person, because Neil Druckmann is one of the biggest hacks in the entire video game industry. He has literally piggybacked on everyone else who has come before him and tries to act like it was him alone that was the creative genius behind everything he's ever touched. I mean, just look at Uncharted 4 compared to Uncharted 3. Complete tonal shift, massive retcons, and arguably one of the worst in the franchise. Then you have The Last of Us, where he only worked partially on The Last of Us of Us, but was under the head of Naughty Dog at the time supervision, so he was kept in check. It was only until after Neil assumed command of the studio, he made the Left Behind DLC, which is when Naughty Dog made its massive leftward shift, and he decided as his first creative decision to make LGBT kids a thing in the Last of Us universe. So we have his latest masterpiece, which he made all by himself, which is The Last of Us 2, which is an absolute fucking disaster of a video game. It failed to even come close to the notoriety and overall success of the original Last of Us game, and purely piggyback off the success of the first game and love that people had for the original Last of Us. So Neil Cuckman is a massive hack. Everything he touches turns to absolute shit, and now we get to witness a game that has no connection to anyone else, that has no connection to an existing franchise. I mean, other than the fact that apparently this is some reference to a comic book series within the Last of Us universe, but I think it's far enough removed that it doesn't count. But it has no connection to any of the successful products that people have made at Naughty Dog before him, even though he logo flashes all the previous games that people actually fucking liked from Naughty Dog at the beginning of the trailer.
Why are we still here? Just to suffer. Every night.
And well, this time around, this is 100% Neil's baby, and people are already not liking it, man, and for good fucking reason, because anyone who tells you, like, oh, you're just overreacting, dude, don't read too much into it. Oh, they didn't even show the game yet, man, how do you even know? Bro, it's Neil Druckmann. The main character looks the way it fucking does, and we know what this is going to look like, dude. I mean, unless you're literally a 3 fucking IQ Cro-Mag who's dragging their fucking knuckles on the ground and needs a drip tray to catch the fucking drool that's constantly flowing down their chin, I don't know what to tell you, man. We have been here way too many times before, and we know for a fact that Mr. Video Games Shouldn't Be Fun, Neil Cuckman, is going to deliver an absolute woke slop fest that is going to rival anything we've seen in the past few years, including Dragon Age Transguard. So this game is going to be a complete political fucking slop fest, and anybody arguing otherwise is either in denial or literally fucking retarded. It's just really
majority of like the length of his reviews end up being about lying about political messaging and what he perceives as wokeness in a said game, which 99.9% of the time just isn't fucking true. His videos are usually a very small amount about gameplay because, again, he doesn't really care about the games themselves. He constantly mentions how much he hates modern gaming, despite there being more games than ever to play and all kinds of really creative games being around that you could play. But anyways, back to Neil. These claims have been around for quite a while, that he takes more credit than he should, which there probably is like a certain amount of truth to that, but the claims have never been substantiated as far as I could tell. In the research I did, I couldn't find any like real statements on it. It's just people thinking he's taking more credit than he should. He also pretends that like Uncharted 4 is a massive downgrade from the other games, and that has massive retcons.
I mean, it's just visually repulsing. I don't really care what you have to say about the main character. You can think it's fine to have a butch space lesbian who's racially and gender ambiguous with a buzz cut, you know, whatever. You can like that. I don't. I know the motivation behind it. And honestly, bro, it's just really sad to see this once great studio that delivered us the entire Uncharted trilogy in one console generation move to this all-time low of releasing a once-in-a-generation game where it's absolute fucking dog shit after absolute dog shit. Think about it. The entire PlayStation 4 generation, Naughty Dog only released Uncharted 4 and The Last of Us Part 2, both of which were far worse than their previous entries in the series. And now we have a new IP from Naughty Dog 4 years, probably 6 years into the PS5 generation when it finally releases, that is arguably just one of the most visually unappealing games I think I have ever seen. It's like Sony saw the failure of Concord and said, yeah, we need to ramp this shit up to 11, and then hired Neil Cuckman to make the most visually unappealing character possible that 100% nobody who has any sort of testosterone flowing through their fucking veins will want to play as at all. I don't really get what this obsession with this Guardians of the Goyslop style game is over at Sony. I mean, first you had Concord that was blatantly a Guardians of the Galaxy ripoff, and now you have this new game, Intergalactic, from Naughty Dog that literally looks like, wait for it, Guardians of the Goyslop, dude. You know, retro technology and space dude and familiar brands dropped in for marketing purposes. I mean, I guess Sony really is hurting with these $300 million movie games nowadays, where they literally are having to shove in product placements at every opportunity. I mean, first you had that awful Adidas collab with Spider-Man 2.
Look at the top of his head.
And now you have Porsche and Adidas advertising in this dogshit Intergalactic trailer. So it's very interesting, man. Maybe money's a little tight over in the PlayStation division after all these fucking massive movie games are coming out and not really performing as expected, so they have to bundle the game with every console sold to artificially inflate the sales numbers so they don't get penalized by companies like Disney, who they're licensing, you know, things like Spider-Man from. So I don't know, man. This entire model of the Sony movie game formula cannot end soon enough. So if this brings about its demise just a little bit faster, I am all for it, bro. Because in all honesty, we knew this was going to happen. We knew whatever game Naughty Dog put out was going to be absolute fucking slop, bro. There is no way in the current state of that studio with Neil Druckmann at the fucking helm that it was going to be anything other than complete and total dog shit. The dude is a literal political hack. He hates himself because he is a white man, air quotes, but you get the point. I mean, it's just, this guy is one of the worst things to ever happen to the video game industry, and the day his ass eventually gets shit canned, the better off we will all be for him. And I have never seen such an unwarranted glazing of a game developer since Kojima when it comes to fucking Druckmann, dude. Those two are the most overrated game devs in the entire fucking industry, hands down, and Neil really hasn't done anything, bro. He has literally just piggybacked off of everyone else's talent and success and creativity, and the first time he has an opportunity to make his own IP, we're left with this shit, bro. But the media will shill for him. They'll prop him up as like this gaming messiah who's saving the video game industry.
So I don't know what in the fuck you're talking about. 4 is beloved by quite a large amount of the audience, and its reviews are just as good as the rest of the games. And I love 4 myself. As far as retcons, the only real retcon is Nate having a brother, which doesn't really change the previous games in any way. It does absolutely nothing to the previous games. Him having a brother doesn't change the previous plots at all. Doesn't really even change the context of those games. It just means he lost his brother sometime before Uncharted 3 in the flashbacks we see. For the record, you can say you don't like Uncharted 4, but acting like it's an objective fact that it's like a worse game is absolutely fucking wild work. He then pretends that the Left Behind DLC for Last of Us 1, when Naughty Dog made this big left-wing shift, which generally I just don't know what the fuck you're talking about. I need a line of whatever the fuck you've been doing lines of Griffin. His main point is that 2 girl kids kiss. Nothing about the story, nothing about the gameplay. It just makes him feel weird and tingly when he sees 2 people of the same gender kiss, and he doesn't like it. It makes him feel uncomfortable. He also tries to make the point that the second Last of Us didn't have the culture impact the first did, which, no shit, that's very common. Typically, a sequel won't impact nearly as much as the original, outside of a couple of exceptions like Halo 2 or Gears 3 and some others. He also tried to clown the studio for flashing their old games on screen in their trailer, but that's something every studio ever, in whether it's movies or games, have always done. So I just don't even know what your point is, right? So he goes on this whole cornball bit about how no one with any testosterone will want to play this game because the character is so ugly, but she looks perfectly fine. And how unappealing this game looks. Firstly, all we have is a teaser. We don't even know how the actual game is going to look or play. But regardless, I don't know, bro. Maybe you're just not a sci-fi fan. It just looks like a retro sci-fi similar to Alien and plenty of other classic, fantastic movies. He also keeps saying that it looks like Guardians of the Goyslot, which, firstly, this game looks nothing like Guardians. But the first time I was lied. And also, Guardians was a fantastic game. Underrated game, in my opinion. But I wish we would have gotten more Marvel games in that style. But besides the point, now he called it that as a dog whistle to say it was made by left-wing Jewish people. Goy used to be a term for like non-Jews, but places like 4chan took the term and transformed it into an insult for Jewish people. Considering how much this fucking cringe edgelord has been trying to appeal to alt-right circles so far, it wouldn't surprise me if that's why he used that term. He also tries to make the point that Sony is constantly putting brands in their games, but it's really only happened twice with like Adidas and Spider-Man. In Spider-Man 2, Miles uses Adidas sneakers a lot, and there's two brands in the trailer for Intergalactic. I believe it was Porsche, and I'm blanking what the other one was. And he implies that they have to do it because the games aren't selling well, but that's just not true. Every single one of these games is insanely successful and usually beloved. He also tries to call Kojima overrated. Like, I don't even know what the fuck you're talking about. I cannot believe I have to explain this. We are talking about that band that made the Silent Hill and Metal Gear Solid games, which are some of the most influential games of all time, and they are absolute masterpieces. Stuff like Silent Hill 2 is just generally considered still a top 3 horror game of all time. So I don't even know where this take comes from. But calling them overrated is absolutely insane. And in the video, he goes on a whole bit about leftist propaganda and how Sony has quote-unquote changed, despite that Sony has always been a mostly story game company. But that was my thoughts on Griffin Gaming, and don't let these fucking grifter cornballs that don't even like this hobby or care about improving it or actual gameplay shape your opinions on this hobby we all love. If you don't like a game, you don't have to play it. Someone like Griffin forces himself to play games he knows he doesn't like the genre of, just so he can bitch about it and lie about it. But if you enjoyed, drop a like and sub, and let me know what you think about this absolute cornball in the comments. I will talk to you all soon.